So we're together once again.
Hi.
By now, I think a lot of people have seen the past life. Well, really, what started off as an energy work session and a healing session, and turned into a somewhat unexpected past life release of held-in trauma and stuff. Breathe through. It's not happening now. It's not happening now. It's a very long time ago.
Screaming.
That happens. Well, actually, a lot of people don't necessarily realize that when you're doing energy work, you are going to be releasing, if you're talking about blockages and stuff that you need to help somebody through. Sometimes those blockages are tied with emotions. Sometimes they're tied with traumatic memories. Sometimes those memories are from this life. Sometimes they're from something else that carried over. And especially when somebody first starts out doing energy healing, it can be a little startling when they're like, hey, I'm going to work on releasing this, and suddenly the person's crying. That happens. But, you know, so the energy work session that turned into past life session.
It was good, though. It actually helped a lot. For the record, the misery was worth it.
That's good. That's good. I would hate to have had to put you through misery just for more misery. That's not very effective at all. But I did see a lot of people going, what the heck were those? Shiny. I mean, aside from shiny and showy.
And sharp.
Well, no, they're actually not as sharp, actually. The reason I have these is they are not particularly sharp.
You wouldn't want them anywhere near your eye.
Well,
but
no,
yeah,
you
they're
don't
not
want
like
to
knife sharp.
No, they're not knife sharp. They're showy and they look spooky to somebody who doesn't know what they're for. But, you know, if I were to stick them on you, they wouldn't really be anything other than, you know, nifty nail tips. Well, you might be able to pick up what I've put into them. Because for me, they're a tool, they're a focus. And the thing that people don't necessarily understand about tools is a tool only has as much value as the person using them puts into them. Now, somebody sensitive, psychic like you, can pick up the energy, the imprints, that the use I've put them to over and over again. Might even be able to pick up little echoes of the most recent release I did with them, which would be you.
Right? That was the first thing I saw was a screaming girl.
But the thing about a tool, you know, Harry Potter's wand.
I don't like that. No, I'm not touching that one.
Oh, you don't need to touch this
That one bit me last time I touched it.
But it's just a piece of art until it means something to me and I can use it to focus what I'm doing. The stuff that we do, energy work or magic, whatever word you want to use for it, is directed by imagination, by visualization. And that keys into your dreaming mind, the part of your mind that speaks to you in image, symbol, metaphor. As a writer, you understand that. And as a writer, one of your big tools is writing. You use language, because language is a way of expressing potent ideas for you. So for me, I also use language often, but I find having physical items to be kind of a mnemonic device, a memento of I'm doing this thing now. And I make it such a habit of, if I put these on my fingertips and I'm getting ready to do energy work, they help me to focus, to appoint the energy that I'm projecting into someone. Because,
I was going to say, like little wands.
yeah, well, you know, from working with me, I have a little bit of oomph, and a little bit too much oomph, actually. So if I try to do energy work, one of the things that I'd learned doing healings on people early on was it was too heavy, it was too heavy-handed. I would be like, I've got my hands over someone, and they would just feel crushed. So I went through a couple of different ideas of how to find a way to narrow that focus, to refine it, to give me a little more subtlety and finesse when I was doing energy work with somebody. And that appealed to me. Now, certainly the appeal has a lot to do with the fact that I'm a goth.
They have crosses on them.
You know, that's totally accidental. I had really, really, really cool ones that I got at Hot Topic. At Hot Topic before they were selling Back when Hot Topic was cool, dang it.
Oh, it's so cool.
These were really, really nice. They were, I don't know what artist had made them, but they were life cast bird beaks and vertebrae, and it was a full set of 4. They were pewter, and they fit my fingers perfectly. And when I put them on, it was like I can see these as something that lets me focus this idea of sending little lines of energy to connect and to stitch and to like run down through channels. And again, it has everything to do with the point. But the usefulness of that has everything to do with me. As somebody who practices magic, technically you're supposed to use a wand. And I gotta tell you, for years and years and years, I was like, wands, poo, that's silly.
Yeah, careful where you're waving that thing.
But a friend made this for me, or actually didn't even make it necessarily for me to start off with, but everybody I'm sure at this point knows that I like spooky goth stuff, and I mean, this thing is just full of skulls and shit.
I remember when you brought that home. Here, Becca, touch this.
Well, I picked it up, and I'm like, I can actually see me channeling energy through this, because the whole purpose of a wand, if you think about what a wand actually is, think back to pictures you've seen on the bas-relief of Egyptian temples, and you see a scribe with this stick that they're holding. And go back further and think about how people would write language down on in Sumerian and Akkadian. That was with a stylus on a clay tablet, and a stylus is really just a stick that a person was holding. The very core of our ancient culture here in the West, language, the ability to write it, to speak it, to create letters, was magic. That's how you brought things into being. That's how you created stuff. And a wand, in a lot of ways, is really just another way of visioning. Well, hello there, cat. Of revisioning a device to write your intent on the air. Once I realized that a wand is basically a magic pen, at least for me, I was like, okay, I can kind of work with this as another way to direct that intent, because that's how you work with that. But again, anybody else? It's really nifty art.
It is beautiful.
Oh, Kinju made it, and Kinju is awesome. Do you really need to be up there? The moral of the story is, when you are doing investigations as a paranormal investigator running around, and you encounter something that somebody has left behind, or that somebody identifies as an occult tool, the absolute biggest important question that you have to ask, the first question you must ask is, what does the tool mean to the person who was using it? You really need to be here right now, huh? You won't understand the use of the tool unless you understand what it meant to the person who was using it. Symbols can have a meaning that stretches back into history, and that meaning can definitely influence people, but if you take something as simple as a star might be used by a Wiccan. A star turned with the point down may be used by a Satanist, like our friend Corvus, to represent their belief system. A star might be used by the Order of the Eastern Star, which is the women's branch of the Masons, the Freemasons. And the star may simply just be used as decoration. And each person who's making use of it is the person who's really projecting their meaning and, to a certain extent, their power onto it. So always ask who used it, why did they use it, what did it mean to them? Don't get hung up on what it means to you. If you walk into a place and you see an upside-down star, don't panic. It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody was doing, weird, crazy satanic rites in that location. It might be that somebody was listening to a whole lot of heavy metal and decided to make something look spooky because that was appealing to them, but there was no ritual in it at all. Because a symbol can also, a tool can also just be art, just be empty.
I know. Not gonna do any magic or poke my eye out.
I was gonna say, don't poke your eye out with that thing.